Good morning. My name's Tony Navarre, and I'm here to continue my review actually of this book, How to Change by Katy Milkman. Now, last week I talked about the first chapter, which was about fresh starts. Fresh starts are where when you decide to start over on a current activity. And New Year's is the famous example of a fresh start. Everybody's going to make New Year's resolutions and the like. But you can literally make up your own. And for more details, listen to my video from last week. Today, I'm going to discuss chapter 8, which is titled Confidence. Now, I'm not sure that this chapter is titled correctly, but most of the chapter is about giving and receiving of advice and the impact that can have on confidence. Because there appears to be a disconnect between the good feeling we get when we give unsolicited advice and the bad feeling we get when we receive unsolicited advice. Because face it, we all love to give advice. All the studies show that we feel better when we give it. They also show that we think the person receiving the advice will also feel good receiving it. However, almost no one likes receiving unsolicited advice. They don't like receiving it because they know what to do already. They're just not doing it. So we all know how to lose weight, just eat less, exercise more, right? But everybody knows how to eat better. Everybody knows how to combat procrastination and the like. We're just not implementing those items. When we give somebody unsolicited advice, we are putting them into a less than position. So we like to give advice and feel good, and we hate to receive advice and feel bad. Now, how do we get ourselves out of the situation? Because we all know that we're not going to stop giving advice. Let's face it. It's human nature. Now, in sales, there's a situation that if you tell the prospect something, it's kind of suspect because it's coming from you, the salesperson, right? Now, if the prospect says something, that's the truth. So, how do we get the person who needs the advice to give the advice so they can hear those very words coming out of their own mouth? Now, there's actually been a study about this. It's very cool. And Milkman talks about it in this book, chapter 8. So, there was a study about this with the high school students. Second year students were asked to spend 10 minutes writing out advice for incoming students on how to be successful in high school. Things like how to study, how to take notes, how to organize their time, and the like. Those students who gave the advice improved their grades that next year. Now, it wasn't, knock it out of the park improvement, but it was a measurable improvement. And by giving the advice, they became a person who follows that advice. As they say, saying is believing. So now the question is, how do you create a situation where you can give solicited advice? Now, one way that Milkman talks about in the book is the creation of an advice club, a club where she and two other colleagues would run situations past each other and get advice from each other. Now, this had two benefits. One, she got to hear new situations that her colleagues were wrestling with, and she got to hear the good advice coming out of her own mouth. She became the person who followed all that good advice she was giving. What a bonus. Now, about 3 years ago, myself and two friends, we created a mastermind to help us achieve our goals. So we meet once a week, we talk about what's going on and how we're going to improve and the like. And I hadn't thought about it before reading this book, but we created something very much like Milkman's Advice Club. Now, it looks like change, success. It's all a team sport. And success at giving advice boosts your confidence. So, time to create your team. This is a great book. I highly recommend it. How to Change by Katy Milkman. Recommend this book highly. We'll see what I come up with next week, maybe another chapter or another book altogether. You guys have a great week.